Hey there, I'm Christopher McClure from Wholeness Geeks, and welcome to Meditation Happy Hour, which happens every Friday around midday Mountain Time on Facebook, the Wholeness Geeks Facebook page. And this week, I want to. The topic is I'll hold you till we both disappear. I'll hold you till we both disappear. So this is a this topic this comes out of relationship. It came out of an experiences with my wife, and it actually happened. The clarity of it actually happened last night. So we had an altercation, and what usually happens with an altercation is we both get triggered, and then there's this dialogue that ensues that very often turns into a debate, a dispute, an argument. and what I've you know uh, increasingly realized is that the dialogue that happens when we're in a triggered state goes nowhere productive. It just does not solve anything. Sometimes you can have realizations about what happened and how you can do things different in the future, but the underlying trauma that's seeking to be re-experienced so it can be uh, you know let go, um, still remains. And so you're in this kind of like half healed state where your conscious mind is like understanding to some extent what happened, and what needs to be different, but your your emotional instinctual self is rattled and unsettled, um, and is still looking for healing, and still trying to find it through language, and it doesn't yield um, a healing result. So the so first I want to talk a little bit about trauma. So trauma, or essentially what we're talking about is that in the past, whether you look at it from the standpoint of this life, or if you believe in reincarnation, you think about it in terms of past lives, but there were things that your soul, yourself, have experienced that you weren't able to fully experience when it happened, because it was too too traumatic, too painful. And so that experience gets stored away somewhere in your energetic body, and you're carrying that. And those experiences are always seeking a way to come to the surface and be re-experienced so that they can be released. Um, so that's the nature of trauma. Um, Healing is healing those traumas is it's it, so we're walking around with these kind of trapped energies, right? These unexperienced experiences. But as we move through life, as we evolve, our consciousness expands, and we get to the point where some of these experiences we have the capacity to actually experience them. it still will be painful, but we're not going to break apart, uh, our sense of self isn't going to disintegrate. Um, the so that's what needs to happen in terms of trauma is simply we just need to experience those things that we couldn't experience. Now, there's one other idea that I want to put forward here. This is a notion that's current amongst people who are involved in the area of healing, the profession of healing, and what it is simply is that the most effective way to heal is to re-experience past traumas or experiences that have not been felt in the presence of another person or a group of people, right? So we bring in this notion of that it's you know I guess it can be done alone, but it's more effective. Uh, it's easier and it's more thorough if you do it with another person or with a collective. And I'm not going to go into why that might be the case, but that seems to be the case. Okay, so that I've kind of set the stage here for what we're working with and what needs to happen. So what I realized last night was that when we get to these, triggered states, it's actually very simple what needs to happen. And that what that is, so what we came to as the only option left last night was just to my wife was standing up, I was sitting down. I, I, we agreed that I would stand up and I would hold her. Basically, we would hug each other, and we hugged each other. We stood there. We held each other until we could feel what needed to be experienced. We didn't know what it was, really didn't understand what it is that was needing to be experienced. We didn't have a name for it. We didn't have words. In fact, the words, like I just described, they just get in the way. So we just stood there and held each other for a good 10 minutes. And my wife was crying. She was blubbering. And and we just, we just held each other until whatever that was, it just kind of like rose and then it just subsided. And then we sat down and we kind of checked in. And what I and what I noticed that happened was that we, in a sense, went to the bottom of the barrel and we went to the essence of our being. It's as if there is this. I'm calling it an eternal trap door, right? It's always there. There's this trap door that's always like at the bottom of human experience, and and you can think of it in two ways. Uh, One way, if you think of it in one way, there's one trap door. If you think of it in another way, there's two. But there's a trap door, and you can think of it that what's at the bottom right before that trap door is our worthlessness, right? And when you go through the trap door, you go into what I call the para self. Para is a Hindu word; it means beyond. So it's like you go beyond yourself. And what I'm talking about there is that you realize that you are more than just your body, and I'm more than just Christopher. I am actually the whole universe. I am divine. I am the oneness that we all are. So that talking about the essence of our being, of my being, it's I am beyond um, the ego, beyond the self. If you think of it another way, that you go through the trap door, and then what's below the trap door is your worthlessness, because a lot of people won't even ad- admit their worthlessness. They'll deny that they feel worthless, and then so everything else is just strategies to avoid that trap door. But if you go through the trap door, there's the worthlessness. But then below the worthlessness, there's that other trap door that leads to the whole universe, to the eternal self. Um, but this process, it feels like you're dying, because yourself, your little s self, is dying. It's like you're realizing you're more than that, but you have to die to that identity that you thought you were. So, and what I noticed was that when after we sat down and checked in after this experience, I noticed that I noticed a very kind of like clean landscape in terms of thoughts, and in the our relationship, the the energetic connection, very clean. And that when I spoke, I was speaking from my essence. I was speaking from with the weight of truth. Like there was no kind of wondering or second guessing. Is what I'm saying true? It's like it was just undeniably true. And for me, that was like a just kind of a confirmation um, that we actually went to the essence, and the trauma was gone. There was a clean sense of being, and also a sense of awe. So just to kind of recap this topic, I'll hold you till we both disappear. It's about relationship is they say it's the best way to get to know yourself, and but what when because when you get to know a person, then and you've got this mirroring going on, that is a truth that can easily be avoided when you're by yourself. And you're comfortable enough with each other that these underlying unconscious things come to the surface. You get to frequently get to experience that has not been experienced. And the typical way of trying to navigate that is by talking about it. And so the revelation here is that the talking does, there is some value in it, but it's incomplete. And the best thing to do is actually very simple. And what that is just to hold each other, not talking, and just go through whatever it is that needs to be felt together. You feel it together. So you don't feel so alone. You feel like there's a feeling of like that this this experience is useful. It's useful to us. It's useful to the world. And you just kind of go to the bottom of that until it just kind of, it rises and it settles. And and you don't have to even know what it is exactly that was being experienced, and you don't have to have names for it, and you don't have to have words for it. um, and that when you get done, that becomes you've tapped into the essence of your being, and and what you do from that is much more aligned with the truth of who you are, and the truth of existence. So, if you would like to ask any questions or make comments, suggestions, even share your own uh, processes, insights, you can join the Facebook Wholeness Geeks group. And yeah, that's it for today. I'm Christopher McClure, and this has been I'll hold you till we both disappear. And thanks for watching and listening.